Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. This time we're taking on a challenge that I'm sure a lot of you out there have probably struggled with.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to master some Spanish beyond just those basic phrases you learn in a travel book.
Okay.
One of you out there sent us this really cool transcribed lesson
Yeah.
all about everyday expressions.
Mm-hmm.
And, it was aimed at English speakers who are trying to learn Spanish.
Sure.
But I think even if you don't speak a lick of Espanol,
I think so, too.
there are some really fascinating things we can unearth here
Oh, absolutely.
about language and culture in general.
Language is so much more than vocabulary. It
Right.
really is a window into how another culture views the world.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we're going to be looking at apologies, gratitude, congratulations, and condolences.
Okay.
So get this.
Okay.
Spanish has multiple ways to say sorry,
It does.
but each one has a different level of formality.
Right?
So you've got perdón, perdona, perdone,
Mm.
all meaning sorry. But they reflect this really nuanced social etiquette.
That's right.
Do we have anything like that in English?
The closest we might get is like, excuse me, versus, pardon me.
Okay.
But even then, those distinctions are kind of fading away.
Yeah, they are.
In Spanish, though, formality is deeply ingrained.
Right.
So like perdón is that
Yeah.
general, sorry.
Perdona?
Perdona you would use with friends.
Okay.
Perdón shows that extra respect for like elders or strangers.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it highlights that importance of social hierarchy,
Yeah.
in Spanish-speaking cultures.
It's like the language itself reinforces respect.
Yeah, it does.
Now, the lesson also mentioned disculpa and disculpe.
Okay.
Do you think these carry any, subtle emotional distinctions?
Hmm.
Like we might have in English, excuse me versus I apologize.
Yeah, I think disculpe maybe implies a little bit greater degree of regret or responsibility.
Okay.
Like you'd use it if you caused someone significant inconvenience.
Okay.
Whereas disculpa is for those more casual slip-ups.
Gotcha.
And then you've got me permit and te importa,
Yeah.
which literally mean allow me and does it matter to you? But they're used for asking permission.
Interesting.
It's fascinating how those literal translations give you like a glimpse into their cultural mindset.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's like decoding a secret code or something.
it is.
So how do you respond to apologies in Spanish?
Well, you've got some options.
Right.
You can say no pasa nada,
Okay.
which means like no problem.
Got it.
Or no importa, which is like it doesn't matter.
Okay.
No te preocupes, don't worry.
Right.
And each of these has like a formal equivalent too.
Mm-hmm.
So, it really emphasizes that putting the other person at ease.
It's interesting. It's almost like they're going out of their way to minimize any discomfort or guilt.
Yeah.
Do you think that reflects a cultural value at all?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think it speaks to like a collectivistic worldview where that harmony within the group is like super important. And even just like a simple apology becomes this opportunity
Yeah.
to reaffirm those social bonds.
Right.
And it's those seemingly small details like that little S at the end of verbs
Yeah.
for informal speech that disappears when you're speaking formally.
Right.
That can make a huge difference,
Yeah.
in conveying respect and understanding cultural norms.
Absolutely. Okay, let's shift gears to expressing gratitude.
Okay.
Obviously, we have gracias and muchas gracias.
Right.
But the lesson dives into some more expressive options.
It does.
What's the deal with se lo agradezco and te lo agradezco?
So these phrases take gratitude like a step further.
Okay.
Formally, it's se lo agradezco.
Okay.
Informally, it's te lo agradezco.
Gotcha.
And they really highlight the action being thanked for.
Okay.
Again, we see the use of le for formal situations, te for informal situations.
Yeah.
And if a woman is expressing gratitude formally, she would use agradecida.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
And then there's the wonderfully enthusiastic millones de gracias. Literally millions of thanks.
I love that one.
Do we have anything in English that captures that level of heartfelt gratitude?
Not really. I mean, we might say thanks a million,
Right.
but it doesn't have the same intensity.
Yeah.
I think Spanish as a language is just naturally more expressive,
Right.
more emotionally charged.
Yeah.
Even just simple greetings like buenos dias,
Uh-huh.
just infused with more warmth and feeling.
Absolutely. And the lesson also pointed out gracias de corazón, which is thanks from the heart.
Yeah.
And estoy muy agradecido, meaning I am very grateful.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems like Spanish provides just this much richer vocabulary
I think so.
for expressing deep gratitude.
It does, these expressions, they go beyond that simple acknowledgement,
Yeah.
and they really highlight the cultural emphasis on sincerity and heartfelt appreciation.
So, okay, someone pours their heart out with a millones de gracias.
Yeah.
Does a simple que nada suffice at
Well,
that point?
well, de nada, meaning you're welcome, is pretty standard. But you could also use gracias a ti,
Okay.
which means thanks to you.
Right.
So it shifts the focus back to the other person's actions.
Right. So it's not just acknowledging their thanks, but also ensuring they don't feel obligated or anything.
Yeah, you're acknowledging their role in that whole exchange,
Gotcha.
fostering that sense of mutual appreciation.
Right.
It's subtle, but it's significant.
Yeah.
And it speaks to the cultural value of reciprocity.
Then we have no hey decay, meaning there's nothing to thank for,
Right.
which I think also translates to de nada.
Yeah, it's a synonym.
So they have a couple of different ways to downplay a favor or act of kindness.
Mhm.
Why do you think that is?
Well, I think these responses aim to minimize any sense of obligation
Okay.
and put the other person at ease. It's
Right.
kind of like saying, don't mention it in English,
Yeah.
but with that added layer of humility,
Right.
you're not just brushing off their thanks.
Right.
You're reassuring them that their gratitude is not really necessary.
Okay.
Yeah,
And then we can't forget ha sido un placer,
of course.
which is it's been a pleasure.
Mm-hmm.
And no tiene importancia. It's not important.
Right.
These feel even warmer and more welcoming, I think.
They do. They go beyond just a simple acknowledgement,
Yeah.
and they underscore that cultural value of
Yeah.
making others feel comfortable and appreciated,
Right.
creating that supportive atmosphere,
Yeah.
minimizing any potential awkwardness.
I'm noticing a theme here,
What's that?
whether it's apologies, gratitude, even congratulations.
Mm-hmm.
There's this underlying focus on nurturing social harmony
Yeah,
and making people feel at ease.
it's true.
It's fascinating how these subtle linguistic choices
Yeah,
can reveal so much about a culture's values.
absolutely.
Ah.
Language is not just about conveying information.
Right.
It's about shaping our interactions and reflecting those values that we hold dear.
Absolutely. Okay, let's move on to congratulations.
Okay.
We covered felicidades and muchas felicidades. But I want to dig a little deeper into enhorabuena.
Okay.
It seems to capture something unique about how Spaniards approach celebration.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Enhorabuena goes beyond just a simple congratulations.
So
It expresses shared joy and excitement for somebody else's accomplishment.
it's not just saying good job, you're saying I'm so thrilled for you.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's not just acknowledging their success.
Right.
It's expressing genuine happiness for their achievement.
And it speaks to that collectivistic worldview again.
It does.
Like we're celebrating each other's successes as a community.
That's right.
And the lesson also points out some less formal options like bravo,
Mhm.
which feels more spontaneous,
Yeah.
and heartfelt phrases like me alegro mucho or me alegro un montón,
Right.
both meaning I'm so happy.
That's right.
And of course, cuanto me alegro, which emphasizes the intensity of the speaker's joy.
Yeah. It's a beautiful spectrum of expressions.
It is.
Each one conveying genuine happiness and enthusiasm.
Yeah. And did you notice that the responses to congratulations
Yeah.
often mirror those used for expressing gratitude?
I did.
It's a really intriguing parallel.
It is.
It reinforces this idea that in Spanish culture, gratitude and joy are intertwined.
Yeah.
They both stem from this deep appreciation for positive social interaction,
And shared experiences.
right?
Exactly. It speaks to a cultural value of warmth, generosity, and genuine human connection.
Exploring these expressions has got me thinking
About what?
about how we celebrate achievements in our own culture.
Yeah.
Do we have anything that really captures that essence of enhorabuena, that sense of shared joy and genuine excitement for somebody else's success?
That's a good question.
It is a question worth pondering.
It is.
It really challenges us to examine our own language and customs,
Yeah.
to see if we place more emphasis on individual achievement
Right.
or collective celebration.
I think that's something for our listeners to kind of mull over.
Yeah, maybe we should give them a minute to think about that.
Yeah, let's pause here,
Okay.
and we'll come back to condolences in part 2. Welcome back to our deep dive into these Spanish expressions. I hope you all had a chance to really think about those nuances of gratitude and congratulations we talked about.
It's amazing how much you can learn about a culture just by dissecting a few simple phrases.
Oh, totally.
Before we jump into condolences,
Yeah, right.
I wanted to circle back to apologies for a
Sure.
sec. We talked about all the different ways to say sorry,
Yeah.
but what really struck me was how much emphasis the lesson put on the contrast between formal and informal language.
Right.
It's like every interaction has this extra layer of meaning embedded in it.
I think so too. Even something as small as that S at the end of a verb
Right.
signals a shift in formality and respect.
It's so subtle,
It is.
but it makes a big difference.
Totally, like no te preocupes, which is don't worry,
Yeah.
becomes no se preocupe when you're speaking formally.
Right.
And these subtle distinctions, they might seem insignificant,
Yeah.
but they speak volumes about social hierarchy and respect.
It reminds me of how we used to have thou and you in English,
Oh, yeah.
where you was the formal address.
Right.
But somewhere along the way, we lost that distinction.
They did.
Do you think that says something about how our culture has evolved?
I think it does. In
Yeah.
Spanish, these formal and informal distinctions,
Yeah.
they're still very much alive,
Right.
reflecting that deep-rooted cultural value. It makes you wonder what our own language says about us.
It's true. It really does.
Yeah.
It's like language is this mirror reflecting our cultural norms and values.
It is.
Okay, shifting gears back to gratitude for a minute.
Okay.
I was really captivated by millones de gracias.
Oh, me too.
It's just so extra.
Millions of thanks.
I know.
It's beautiful.
In a good way.
That is. It really is.
It suggests that the gratitude felt is so immense
Mm-hmm.
that words can't even fully express it.
Right? Think about those moments when you're so overwhelmed with gratitude
Yeah.
that a simple thank you just doesn't feel sufficient.
Right.
Millón de gracias gives you that outlet
Yes.
to express that depth of emotion.
I wonder if this ties into the Spanish tendency towards grand gestures and a more emotionally expressive communication style.
I think so. What do you think? I think even everyday greetings like buenos dias,
Right.
they're infused with more warmth and sincerity.
It's not just the words, it's the tone, the delivery, everything.
It's all of it. It's about conveying meaning and emotion through every aspect of communication.
So true nonverbal cues play such a crucial role,
They do.
especially when you're expressing things like gratitude.
For sure.
Okay, let's talk about responding to all that heartfelt gratitude.
Okay.
De nada
Yeah.
is our standard. You're welcome.
Yeah.
But I was really intrigued by gracias a ti.
Oh, yeah. Thanks to you.
Yeah, it feels much more reciprocal.
It does. Gracias a ti acknowledges the other person's contribution and shifts the focus back to them instead of just dismissing their thanks.
Yeah.
You're acknowledging their role in that exchange.
And fostering that sense of mutual appreciation.
Exactly. It's subtle,
It is.
but significant.
Yeah.
And it speaks to the cultural value of reciprocity.
Then we have no hate que,
Right. There's nothing to thank for.
which also translates to de nada.
Right. It does. Yeah, it's another synonym.
So they have several ways to downplay a favor or act of kindness.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think that is?
Well, I think these responses, they aim to minimize any sense of obligation,
Okay.
put the other person at ease.
It's like saying don't mention it in English,
Right, exactly.
but with an added layer of humility.
That's it. You're not just brushing off their thanks.
Right,
You're
yeah.
reassuring them that their gratitude isn't really necessary.
Right.
Yeah.
And then we have ha sido un placer
Of course it's been a pleasure.
and no tiene importancia.
It's not important.
These feel even warmer, more welcoming somehow.
I think so too.
Right.
They go beyond a simple acknowledgement, and they really emphasize that Spanish cultural value of making others feel comfortable and appreciated.
Right.
It's about creating a supportive atmosphere and minimizing any potential awkwardness.
So we're seeing this theme emerge,
What's that?
whether it's apologies, gratitude, or even congratulations.
Yeah.
There's this underlying focus on nurturing social harmony
Right.
and making people feel at ease.
It's all about maintaining these positive relationships.
Right. And it's fascinating how these subtle linguistic choices
Yeah.
can reveal so much about a culture's values.
It's true. Language isn't just about conveying information.
Right.
It's a powerful tool for shaping interactions
Mhm.
and reflecting our deepest held values.
Absolutely. Okay, let's shift gears to congratulations.
Okay.
We've covered felicities and muchas felicidades.
Right?
But I want to dive a little deeper into enhorabuena.
Okay.
I think it captures something really unique about the Spanish approach to celebration.
Enhorabuena goes beyond just a simple congratulations.
Yeah.
It expresses that shared joy
Mm.
and excitement
Yeah.
for someone else's accomplishment.
So it's like saying, I'm so thrilled for you.
Exactly.
It's not just acknowledging their success.
Right.
You're genuinely happy for them.
You're sharing in their joy.
Right. And it speaks to that collectivistic worldview again.
It does.
We're celebrating each other's successes as a community.
That's right.
And the lesson pointed out some less formal options too, like bravo.
Yeah, which is more spontaneous.
Right.
More of an outburst of excitement.
And then there are those heartfelt phrases like me alegro mucho or me alegro un montón.
Yes, both meaning I'm so happy.
And of course, cuánto me alegro.
Right, which emphasizes the intensity of the joy.
It's a beautiful spectrum of expressions,
It is.
each conveying that genuine happiness and enthusiasm.
For sure. And you know what I noticed?
What's that?
The responses to congratulations often mirror those used for gratitude.
Right? I noticed that too.
It's interesting, right?
It reinforces that idea
What idea?
that in Spanish culture,
Yeah,
gratitude and joy are intertwined.
they are.
They both stem from this deep appreciation for positive social interaction and shared experiences.
It's about celebrating those connections
Exactly.
and recognizing those shared moments.
And it speaks to a cultural value of warmth, generosity, genuine human connection.
Absolutely. It's about those heart-to-heart connections.
Exploring these expressions has really got me thinking
About what?
about how we celebrate achievements in our own culture.
Oh, yeah.
Do we have anything that truly captures the essence of enhorabuena?
That's a great question.
That sense of shared joy, that genuine excitement for someone else's success.
It makes you think, doesn't it?
It challenges us to examine our own language,
Yeah.
our own customs.
Mm-hmm.
Do we place more emphasis on individual achievement
Mm-hmm.
or collective celebration?
That's a good point.
That's something for all of us to ponder.
It is.
Maybe we should give our listeners a moment to reflect on that.
Yeah, let's pause here
Okay.
and delve into the nuances of expressing sympathy and support in part 3.
Welcome back to our deep dive. We've explored apologies, gratitude, congratulations.
Yeah.
But now we're venturing into more delicate territory, condolences.
It's true.
It's fascinating how language handles those sensitive moments.
It is. You know, expressing sympathy and support during times of loss requires a certain delicacy, and Spanish offers a range of expressions that go beyond those simple platitudes.
The lesson starts with lo siento mucho,
I'm very
and
sad.
the more specific, lo siento por tu pérdida.
I'm sorry for your loss.
Those feel like good starting points, acknowledging the person's pain.
They are, conveying genuine sympathy.
But then the lesson dives into expressions that reach a deeper level of shared grief.
Yeah, like cuánto lo siento.
How much? I'm sorry.
Right, adding that intensifier cuánto
Yeah.
really emphasizes that depth of feeling.
It goes beyond a statement of fact.
Yeah.
You're conveying a true understanding of the weight of their loss.
It's like saying, I can't even imagine what you're going through,
Right.
but I want you to know that I truly care.
And then there's the more formal, mis condolencias.
My condolences, a classic expression.
Right, appropriate for formal settings or when you don't know the person well.
Exactly, but even here, Spanish offers something more.
Okay.
Le te acompaño en el sentimiento.
I accompany you in your feeling, wow, that's powerful.
It is.
It's not offering empty words. You're expressing a willingness to be present with them in their pain.
Yeah, to share in that grief.
It suggests a deep level of empathy,
It does.
acknowledging that shared human experience of sorrow.
And then finally you have mi más sentido pésame,
My most heartfelt condolences.
conveying genuine empathy, offering comfort during that difficult time.
Again, that emphasis on heartfelt sincerity, even in the face of loss.
Yeah, and it's interesting how the responses to condolences often mirror those for gratitude.
I noticed that too. Why do you think that is?
Well, I think it highlights a beautiful connection
Okay.
between expressing gratitude
Yeah.
and receiving condolences,
Mm-hmm.
even in those moments of grief.
Yeah.
There's an appreciation for that support and kindness.
Right.
It speaks to that enduring power of human connection, even in the darkest of times.
It's a reminder that we're not alone in our grief,
Right.
and that even those simple expressions of care
Yeah,
can provide solace and strength.
it can.
As we wrap up this deep dive,
Yeah.
I'm struck by how we've uncovered so much more
Mm-hmm.
than just a list of Spanish expressions.
It's true. We've gained insights into a culture that values social harmony,
Right.
heartfelt expression, deep human connection.
Language has a remarkable ability to reflect the soul of a culture.
It does. By exploring these phrases, we've learned how Spanish speakers navigate those complex emotions, prioritize relationships, find meaning in shared experiences.
And hopefully it's inspired you to take a closer look at your own language and culture.
I hope so.
What can we learn about ourselves by examining the ways we express gratitude, offer congratulations, or navigate those moments of loss?
It's a question worth asking.
It is, because ultimately language is more than just words.
Right.
It's a reflection of who we are and how we connect with the world around us.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Spanish expressions. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep those connections strong.